Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of the Roundabout Way of Fate. This will be Part 27, Chapter 18, entitled The Anomaly. Despite Izuku's excitement for his internship week, the day they're meant to be sent off also brings a sense of unease. Uraraka texts him that morning, expressing her worry about Ida doing his internship with a lesser-known agency in Hosu, the city where his older brother essentially lost his life as a hero. He won't have any friends to distract him from his pain. And Izuku worries how this week-long internship might affect him. So, when Class 1A meets up at the train station, Izuku and Uraraka approach Ida. The blue-haired boy turns when Izuku calls his name. But the greenette suddenly finds that he doesn't quite know what to say. What can he say in this situation? He has no idea what's going on in Ida's mind right now. Thankfully, Uraraka knows Ida better than he does, so she steps forward. If you ever need to talk to someone, you have our numbers. You know you can talk to us about anything. We're your friends, right? Izuku asks. There's a pause. Then Ida turns to them. Even though he's smiling, his face is closed off. Yeah, he says, then turns and walks away without another word. Uraraka sighs and looks at Izuku. I suppose there isn't really much else we can do for him. Izuku reluctantly nods. They can't really help Ida if he doesn't want them to. He hopes that just the reminder of their support will be enough for the other boy. But that doesn't stop the anxiety from churning in his stomach as he bids goodbye to Uraraka and returns to Kacchan's side. Remember to text me when you get there, the blonde reminds him for the 100th time as they walk to Izuku's platform. And don't fucking talk to creeps along the way. Izuku rolls his eyes. Yes, mother. Ignoring Kacchan's growl, he spots Todoroki and waves as they pass by. Todoroki simply gives him a small smile in return. Soon, Izuku is sitting on the train, gazing out the window as the scenery flashes by. It's really weird to be traveling by himself for the first time. It's weird that the person sitting next to him isn't Kacchan, but a complete stranger. It makes him nervous, but he mentally scolds himself for being so cowardly and tries to force himself to be excited instead. He gets to go somewhere without Kacchan. He gets to have an adventure that's all his own. This is new and exciting, and he's going to make the best of it. So, with that positive mentality, he plasters a smile on his face and eagerly anticipates his arrival. The Nighteye agency is about an hour-long train ride from UA, but it feels like it passes in minutes. Before he knows it, he's standing on the sidewalk, peering up at the large, 5-story building in front of him. His smile wavers ever so slightly. Despite his mental pep talk, his anxiety returns with full force. He's really alone right now. Kacchan usually takes the lead with this kind of stuff. Actually, he takes the lead with pretty much everything. Izuku's so used to being a follower that he isn't quite sure how to proceed. What if he's super awkward and makes a fool of himself? What if he does something wrong and messes everything up? What if... Through the glass doors, he can see a receptionist inside, giving him an odd look. Oh shit, he's been standing outside for way too long. Stepping inside, he smiles politely and walks up to her desk. Excuse me. He tries not to stammer. I'm here for my internship with Kameyuki. The receptionist glances at her computer screen and makes a noise. Ah, are you Midoriya Izuku? Izuku nods, mentally scolding himself for not giving his name right away, and she gestures to the staircase. She should be on the 3rd floor. I'll let her know you're coming. Izuku thanks her and nervously makes his way up the staircase, which is shaped in a dizzying spiral. Everything around him seems so pristine and fancy. It makes him feel very out of place. He gazes around in awe. He's in a real hero agency. He's so busy gawking at everything that he completely loses count of how many floors he's gone up. Shit, did he already pass the 3rd floor? No, it's the one just above him. This one. Coming to a stop at the next landing, Izuku spots a plain-looking door at the end of a long hallway. There's no sign or any hint as to what may lay behind it, so he cautiously moves closer and opens the door slowly. The first thing he notices is the abundance of All Might merchandise spread out across the room. Posters are plastered on every wall. All Might bobbleheads and knickknacks carefully placed in already full bookshelves and desks. A life-size All Might cardboard cutout propped up in the corner. Izuku freezes. What did he just walk into? Is this whole room a shrine? Whatever this place is, he's not the only one here. A young woman with blue skin and hair notices him as soon as the door opens and straightens up. "Who are you?" she asks. Izuku startles and opens his mouth to reply when suddenly a large body flies out from one of the walls. Except the wall remains unbroken, as if the body phased through it. The person hits the ground with a loud thump right in front of Izuku. He immediately recognizes who it is. Mirio-senpai! He squeaks. Mirio glances at him in surprise, sitting up, and... Wow, that's a lot more skin than Izuku's used to seeing. His face heats up and he slaps his hands over his eyes. You're naked! Huh? Mirio looks down at himself as if he didn't notice. Oh, right. Sorry, sometimes I lose my clothes when I phase through something with my whole body. Izuku keeps his eyes covered as he hears Mirio get up. The woman from earlier sighs and walks over, asking, "Why did you phase through the wall, then?" "I thought I might break it. Sir would be upset if I destroyed his Bronze Age poster." Izuku peeks between his fingers long enough to see Mirio nod at a poster on the wall, featuring All Might in said Bronze Age costume. Mirio himself is unabashedly standing with his hands on his hips, his broad, naked chest glistening with sweat. Izuku blushes furiously, sparing a quick glance down and letting out a sigh of relief when he sees that Mirio has covered his nether regions with a jacket, probably given to him by the woman. Mirio looks at him with a grin. "Anyway, I didn't expect to see you here, my little kohai." "You know this kid?" the woman asks. Izuku opens his mouth to introduce himself, only to be interrupted by a door opening on the same wall that Mirio phased through. A tall man, who Izuku instantly recognizes as Sir Nighteye, he may have done some research after All Might mentioned him, walks in. "Mirio-kun, what did I tell you about?" He pauses when his eyes land on Izuku. The freckled boy gulps, suddenly finding himself under an intense gaze. "Who are you?" Nighteye demands. Izuku once again opens his mouth, but Mirio beats him to it. The blonde wraps a heavy arm around his shoulders, pulling him close to his side, and announces, "This is my kohai, Midoriya Izuku of Class 1A. A hero student. Night-Eye's golden eyes narrow. "I didn't hire another intern. What are you doing here?" "Oh yeah, what are you doing here, Midoriya-kun?" Mirio glances down at him curiously. Izuku's face burns, most likely due to the fact that despite the jacket, Mirio is still very much naked and is pressing the smaller boy against him. As he squirms out of his grasp, he stammers. I'm doing my internship with Kameyuki, Vapormend." "Ah, right. She mentioned someone will be coming by," the blue-skinned woman says. "You're Recovery Girl's apprentice, right?" Izuku nods and she smiles. "It's nice to meet you then, Midoriya-kun. I'm Bubble Girl, Sir Night-Eye's sidekick." She holds her hand out, and Izuku takes it. "Nice to meet you." "Hey, you never told me you were coming here for your internship," Mirio says, his words accusing but his tone good-natured. He reaches out to ruffle Izuku's curls, but the greenette hastily dodges. He'd put his hair in a very nice bun today, and he doesn't want it to be ruined. "I'm not really staying here, I don't think," he says. "Vapormend goes where she's needed, so I'll just be shadowing her." "You get to go to multiple agencies? Dang, it's cool that healers have such flexibility," Mirio says. "I'm jealous." "There are so few of them around," Bubble Girl comments. "It's nice to see such a young healer." Before Izuku can reply, Sir Nighteye speaks up. "Yes, well, we're all glad that you're here, but if you don't mind, we were in the middle of a training session." He gives Mirio a look, and the blonde grins sheepishly. "Training?" Izuku looks at Mirio. "You're doing your internship here, senpai." Mirio puffs up his chest with pride. "Yep, I've been working with Sir for almost a year now." "That's super cool." As Izuku speaks, the door behind him opens. "Ah, there you are, Midoriya-kun." He glances over his shoulder to see a short woman with a distinct, sharp-cut bob hairstyle that matches the jet-black color of her nails. She smiles warmly and extends her hand. "Kameyuki, nice to meet you. The receptionist said you were on your way, but I figured you got lost. Don't worry about it, though," she adds when Izuku starts to apologize. "This place can be a bit confusing for new people. I see you've already met Sir Nighteye." She looks over at the man, who nods politely in return. "Kame-san," Sir Nighteye says. "I was unaware you were taking on an intern this week." He doesn't sound too pleased at the surprise, but the healer waves him off. "Oh yeah, I wasn't really planning on it," she says, smiling at Izuku. "But Recovery Girl has spoken so highly of you, I just had to snatch you up before any of the other healers could." Izuku flushes slightly and looks down at his shoes. I hope she didn't oversell me." Mirio laughs and gives him a hefty pat on the back that nearly makes him lose his balance. "You're too humble, Midoriya-kun," he says. "You've got a super rare quirk, and you're a recommendation student. Have some pride." Izuku blinks. "How do you know I'm a He trails off and shakes his head. Considering how displeased Shinso was when he found out, there's a good chance he mentioned it to others. News about Izuku seems to spread like wildfire in UA. "Who sponsored you?" Bubble Girl asks, then catches herself. "Oh, wait a minute, it was probably Recovery Girl." Sir Nighteye, who has been steadily looking more and more annoyed as they continue to talk, catches Mirio's attention and jerks his head towards the door that no doubt leads to a training room. Mirio pats Izuku once more before turning to follow his mentor, but Izuku quickly spots his chance. "Actually, All Might was my sponsor," he says. Bubble Girl and Vapormend make noises of surprise, but Izuku keeps his eye on Sir Nighteye. Just as he expected, the man stops dead in his tracks. "What?" he asks, turning around to fix Izuku with a firm but bewildered look. "Why would All Might sponsor a healer?" Feigning casualness, Izuku explains. "Oh, we met around a year before I got into UA. I guess he saw my potential, but I have trouble controlling my quirk sometimes. See, I can kind of sense injuries, and my quirk will automatically try to heal them. But if it's a big injury, then my quirk won't stop, and I'll eventually pass out from exhaustion. All Might wanted to help me get into UA so that I could train with Recovery Girl, so yeah, he sponsored me." It's a vague explanation, and it doesn't divulge how he even met All Might in the first place, but it's enough to make Sir Nighteye look suspicious. Izuku can practically see the gears turning in the man's head as his sharp eyes seemingly analyze the boy thoroughly. It's rather unnerving, actually. but Mirio distracts him with a loud, "Oh," of understanding. "That explains the other day, then." Izuku and Bubble Girl tilt their heads questioningly, and Mirio says, "I was poking my head into the nurse's office after school one day, and I saw All Might ruffling Midoriya-kun's hair. I guess it makes sense now." He smiles at Izuku. "You two seem close." Izuku rubs the back of his neck bashfully. I guess so." "That's awesome!" Bubble Girl exclaims. "Man, to be sponsored by the #1 hero?" "It was kind of crazy," Izuku admits. "I think I confused a lot of people during the recommendation exam." Vapormend laughs and says, "Well, if you have both All Might and Recovery Girl in your corner, then I can't wait to see your quirk. I don't know how much I can help you with controlling it, but I can definitely introduce you to the world of hero healers." Izuku's eyes sparkle eagerly. "Thanks, and don't worry about the control thing. My friend Ejiri-senpai already gave me some advice that I'm excited to try out." "Yeah, can't have you passing out anymore." Mirio grins, then cocks his head to the side curiously. "Hey, speaking of, I was wondering, what's the biggest injury you've ever healed?" Izuku's smile widens. Bless his senpai for asking the right questions. Sir Nighteye is still gazing at him when he glances over. Making direct eye contact with the hero, Izuku nonchalantly says, "Oh, I regrew a stomach once." Sir Night-Eye's eyes widen. "Holy shit, that's amazing!" Bubble Girl exclaims, oblivious to her boss's silent freakout. "A stomach? You can regrow organs?" Mirio gapes at him, and Izuku giggles, nodding. "Holy crap! Wait, is that the big injury that made you go into a coma afterwards?" "Huh?" Bubble Girl and Vapormend stare at him in alarm. Izuku coughs awkwardly. Yeah. My quirk utilizes my own energy, so big injuries take a lot out of me. Hence why I need to learn to control my quirk better." Vapormend hums in thought. "I see. Well, you let me know if there's anything I can do to help you out with that. We can talk more about quirks later, though." She straightens up and turns to Sir Nighteye, who looks speechless. "I've just finished organizing your medical wing. If you don't mind, I'd like to give Midoriya-kun a quick tour of it before we go on our way." Sir Nighteye still hasn't torn his dumbfounded gaze away from Izuku. Now Mirio and Bubble Girl are starting to notice his odd behavior as well. That's fine. Go right ahead," Bubble Girl says when her boss takes too long to respond. She bounces over to him and snaps her fingers in front of his face while Vapormend leads Izuku away. Mirio cheerfully waves as they leave. Turns out, Izuku had gone up one flight too many. Vapormend leads him back down to the 3rd floor, where they enter a room that looks much more hospital-like than the previous one. "All right then, let's get started," the healer says, waving her arms around her. "This is the Nighteye Agency Medical Wing, and those lovely people over there," she gestures to a trio of adults gathered around a desk who watch them curiously, "are the medical team. Nakamura-san is the head healer, and Kita-san and Sakuma-san are his medics. Most hero agencies are set up in a similar way, with one head healer supported by multiple doctors that make up for their unrelated quirks with their dazzling medical degrees." She flourishes her hand flamboyantly and grins. Izuku laughs nervously, but the medics don't appear to be offended. They smile and greet him politely, while Vapormend continues. "As you may notice, this place isn't too big. That's because agencies like Nighteye's are more focused on intel gathering rather than combat, so their medical wing is smaller than most. But when we go to Endeavor's agency, you'll see that their wing is a lot bigger. Actually, it's so big that I'm not the only healer that works there. I've got a partner named Osaki-san. He's an older fellow, though, so he just sticks to the Endeavor agency." Izuku nods, kind of wishing he could take notes, and starts to ask, Vapormend." The woman cuts him off with a wave. Oh, none of that. Just call me Kame-san. Izuku nods and opens his mouth to finish asking his question, but Kame just plows onward. Healers tend to stick to the agencies where their particular skills will be the most useful. For example, my quirk, Healing Breath, works by utilizing the healing properties in the water droplets of my breath. Basically, if I breathe on an injury, it speeds up the healing process by about 50%. So, it's really good for dealing with external wounds like burns, which is why I primarily work with the Endeavor Agency. The big guy's a great hero, but kinda messy. You'll see when we get there. At the mention of Endeavor, Izuku shifts uncomfortably. He's only ever met the man twice, but each time he wasn't very friendly. And now that he knows how Endeavor views healers, he isn't too eager to join his medical team, even if it's only temporary. Well, at least Todoroki will be there. He follows Kame as she walks around the medical wing, continuing her explanation. Other agencies, like rescue agencies, typically have healers with quirks like pain stopping and stuff like that to help keep the civilians that they're rescuing calm. They also provide good on-site medical treatment, but I suppose that part could be applied to all combat medics. Oh, she perks up. There is one healer that I know of that works at underground agencies with a quirk that's like internal body cleansing or something. He could get rid of poisons and stuff. Do you know why that quirk is best for underground agencies? She turns to face Izuku, who is taken aback by the sudden question. He can already tell that Kame is the type to talk a lot and quickly too, so it takes him a moment to process what she asked. His mind whirls. Because underground heroes probably deal with sneakier villains. He struggles to find the right words. I mean, they might do undercover work, stuff that most heroes can't do because they're in the media spotlight. So, the threat of drugs and poisons must be higher for them, compared to other heroes? It comes out, sounding like a question. However, considering the pleased expression on Kame's face, it's the right answer. You've got the gist of it, yeah, she says. So, you can see how it's important for healers to understand their specialties. He nods. Most healers communicate to some degree with each other and go where they're needed. So if, say, Endeavor gets poisoned by a villain, we'd call up our underground friend and have him come over. Healers, especially the more powerful ones, are constantly on the move. I bet you'll be just like Recovery Girl. With a quirk as flexible as yours, you'll be traveling all across Japan during your career, healing heroes left and right. She grabs his hands and leans a bit too close to his face, grinning eagerly. Isn't it exciting? Her eyes are wide and sparkling with energy. She kind of reminds him of Neijiri with her bubbly, in-your-face personality. Swallowing, he leans back slightly and stammers. Yeah, totally. Let me show you how everything's set up. She moves away as quickly as she came, spinning around and gesturing to a large cabinet, probably full of medical supplies. Night-Eye's medical wing was in desperate need of a tune-up, so Kida-san called me over. Like my own mentor always said, all good medical wings need to have a... She goes on to explain the logistics of setting up a hero agency's medical center, talking a mile a minute about everything from basic necessities to decorations to the cost of equipment, which he won't even have to worry about since it will be paid for by the agency. But he gets the feeling that she just wanted an excuse to rant about some of the outrageous prices of particular equipment. He nods along politely, slightly overwhelmed by the abundance of information being dumped on him so soon, and tries to remember as much as he can so he can write down notes later. It's a long time before Mirio's head pops through the door, startling Izuku. "Excuse me," he says. Kame and the other doctors glance over, seemingly entirely unsurprised at the sight of the teenage boy's face sticking through the door. "Not trying to rush you or anything, but Sir says he wants to talk to Midoriya-kun before you guys leave." Kame stops talking for the first time in 20 minutes, miraculously not even slightly out of breath. She cocks her head to the side. "Why?" "I'm not quite sure," Mirio says. "But you know how he's a big All Might fan. He's probably just curious about Midoriya-kun because he got sponsored by the guy." Well, it's about time Sir Nighteye decided to say something. It couldn't have taken him that long to figure it out. Izuku smiles and looks to Kame for permission. "Oh, go on ahead," she says, waving him off. "Just don't take too long. I want to have time to get lunch before we have to go to Endeavor's place." Izuku nods. Mirio's face disappears for a moment before his senpai opens the door for him and dramatically gestures for him to join him in the hallway. Izuku giggles and trots after the older boy as he begins leading the way. Mirio strikes up a friendly chat while they walk, talking about his intense training with Sir Nighteye, who apparently has a lot more physical skill than he appears to have. He's led to a smaller, more private office room. Mirio opens the door for him before giving him a quick pat on the shoulder and leaving. When he enters, he spots Sir Nighteye standing on the opposite side of the room. The tall man is facing away from him, his hands braced on his desk as he gazes out of the window with hunched shoulders. It makes for a rather dramatic sight. But for some reason, Izuku doesn't feel quite so nervous anymore. Sir Nighteye is silent for a moment, then says quietly, "Even though All Might and I haven't spoken to each other in years, I still keep a close eye on him. It would have been impossible for me to not notice how he's been staying in his muscled form longer and longer each day, despite his injury. At first, I thought that perhaps he was just pushing himself. It would have been far from the first time he's done so." He straightens up and slowly turns to look over his shoulder at Izuku. "But now I know why." His gaze is firm, but skeptical, as if he doesn't quite know what to make of him. Izuku meets it calmly and says, "I haven't healed him entirely yet." Sir Nighteye blinks, then frowns. "But you said—" "Just his stomach," Izuku clarifies, then winces in apology at the interruption. "I just grew back his stomach. I didn't even mean to, really, He trails off, then figures he should probably start from the beginning. "I met All Might last April, after the incident with the sludge villain that resulted in a woman's death." Sir Nighteye nods, as if he's very familiar with said incident, and considering how much All Might merchandise he has, and how closely he's been watching the #1 hero, he probably is. "I stumbled across him in his weak form, and he kind of accidentally coughed up blood on my face, which was really gross, but I ended up basically grabbing him by the wrist and, well, like I said earlier, my quirk activates automatically as soon as skin contact is made." He struggles not to ramble. "I could sense his injuries, and my quirk was trying to heal them as quickly as possible, but I eventually just ended up passing out. I didn't even realize who he was or what I had done until he visited me in the hospital a couple of days later. He had told me about getting injured by that villain and that he had a stomach for the first time in years, and I couldn't believe it." He looks down at his feet, smiling softly at the memories. "And, well, Recovery Girl offered to train me, and—" He gestures as if to say, "The rest is history." Sir Nighteye stares at him, clearly processing his words. "But I still don't understand why All Might sponsored you." "Oh," Izuku waves his hands sheepishly. "That's just 'cause there was some old rule about teachers not being able to sponsor students, so Recovery Girl couldn't do it herself, and, well, All Might was more than willing to help out." He scratches the back of his neck, then forces himself to be steady and straightens up. "I plan to heal him completely as soon as I learn how to control my quirk." "And where are you with that?" Sir Nighteye asks. Now, Izuku gets a bit nervous. He wrings his hands in his shirt and glances away with a sigh. "Honestly, not very far. I've got a couple of ideas that might help, but I've basically gone my entire life without trying to train my quirk. It might be a while." He brightens slightly and adds, But we did find out that my quirk can be stopped if the skin contact is broken by someone else, like if they move away or move me. Then why don't you just do that? Sir Nighteye asks, a bit demandingly. I know, right? I totally could. Izuku agrees wholeheartedly to the man's surprise. He sighs again. But Recovery Girl said I have to get licensed before I can heal a pro hero. You know, 'cause of legalities and stuff. I wasn't really supposed to heal All Might the first time, but they let it go. Sir Nighteye looks slightly frustrated, which Izuku understands. Eventually, though, he lets out a heavy exhale through his nose and says, I guess it can't be helped then. Well, regardless, I want to thank you for healing him. Izuku blinks in surprise when the man gives him a small smile. I never thought I'd ever see him be as strong as he is now again. Izuku flushes and averts his gaze shyly. He'll never get used to such blatant praise. Oh, it's no problem. Sir Nighteye arches a brow. Sounds like it was, though. What did Mirio-kun say about you being in a coma? Izuku decides to explain his quirk a bit more thoroughly, explaining how it usually works and how All Might's injury affected him. Sir Nighteye nods thoughtfully. Your quirk. I've never heard of something like it before. It's so powerful. It should be impossible. He murmurs the last part, as if to himself. He falls silent, his brows knitted in contemplation, and Izuku waits patiently. He startles when Sir Nighteye abruptly straightens and looks at him. How much has All Might told you about me? Izuku blinks. Just that you used to work together, and that you broke up when he got injured. The hero huffs and grumbles something under his breath that Izuku doesn't catch. Pursing his lips, he says, My quirk is called Foresight. It allows me to see a person's future. When All Might was injured, he cuts himself off, a sharp exhale hissing through his teeth as he glances away. You don't understand. He was broken. A deep pain flashes in those golden eyes. Izuku's chest suddenly feels tight. Sir Nighteye pauses, inhales deeply, then continues. While he was hospitalized, I used my quirk on him. Another pause. And I saw that he would face off against a villain and die an unspeakably gruesome death. Izuku's breath catches in his throat. He stares at Sir Nighteye with wide, disbelieving eyes. Whatever future I see cannot be changed. This rule is absolute, as I myself have tried to change the future to no avail. But I knew, the man whispers, that if he was to continue on like that, with that body, he would only seal his fate. I couldn't stand by and just let this future play out, not with All Might. Even though I knew it was hopeless, I had to at least try. He swallows heavily and continues. So, I told him to retire. I told him to find a successor to pass the mantle of the symbol of peace on to spend the rest of his days as a legend, to live while he still could. His face twists into a grimace and he growls. And he refused, even though he couldn't smile at all. He refused to stop fighting. And I couldn't support him. I couldn't watch him accept his fate. At that rate, everything would have gone according to my foresight. It was going according to what I saw. His words trail off, and he lifts his head towards Izuku. But I didn't see you. Heart in his throat, all Izuku can do is stare. He doesn't understand what he's saying. All Might is going to. I didn't see you, Sir Nighteye repeats. His jaw clenches. He almost looks frustrated. I don't understand you. What is your place in all this? Izuku doesn't realize that he's stepped closer until the man is right in front of him, gazing down at him with an indecipherable expression. A boy with a healing quirk, rare even amongst rare quirks, born of pure chance, with a complete disregard to genetics. An anomaly. His golden gaze seems to pierce Izuku. How could I have possibly foreseen you? Izuku doesn't know what to say. Vaguely, he's reminded of his conversation with All Might after USJ. The man telling him how the villains lost because they didn't expect him. He swallows uneasily. Is he an anomaly? Everyone always seems so shocked by his quirk, even healers. What is he? Silence is his only response. Sir Nightaye's eyes roam over him as he says, 6 or 7 years. That was how far into his future I looked. That was when I saw his death. The further into the future I look, the less accurate the time. It could be this year or next year. His voice drops to a murmur. Or it could have already passed. Huh? Izuku croaks. Sir Nighteye takes a step back, still holding his gaze. In all my years as a hero, my foresight has never been wrong. I knew that even if I tried to change All Might's future, I would fail. But you weren't part of my vision. You can heal him. You can fix him. And I just can't help but wonder. Silence falls between them. Izuku doesn't notice until now that his eyes are wet. Still, he somehow can't bring himself to wipe his tears just yet. Have I, he whispers shakily, have I changed anything? Sir Night-Eye's throat bobs. I don't know. I'm not. Then his eyes widen ever so slightly. Inhaling deeply, he steps towards Izuku once more and raises his hand. Ever since I saw All Might's death, I decided to never read people's futures. From then on, I would only look seconds and minutes into the future, no more. But Izuku's gaze darts to his raised hand hovering inches away from his face, then back to his eyes. Wordlessly asking for permission. He nods, and Sir Night-Eye's hand gently cups the side of his face. Golden eyes turn purple. Mere seconds pass before those same eyes well up with tears. Izuku stiffens in alarm. But then the hand on his cheek slides to the back of his head, and the next thing he knows he's being pulled against a chest. Long arms wrap around him, holding him tightly, as a heartbeat louder than his own echoes in his ear. A chin drops on top of his head, with a shaky exhale. They stay like that for a long time, Izuku awkwardly hugging a man so much taller than him. He can't tell what this hug means. Were those tears happy or sad? Is his future bad? The chin on his head shifts, and a voice croaks. I guess I should pay that man a visit, then. Izuku smiles, not bothering to prevent the giggle that escapes him, as he burrows deeper into Sir Night-Eye's chest. Well, there's his answer. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 18 of The Roundabout Way of Fate. Chapter 19 will be up next. I'd love to hear the thoughts and reactions you have to this chapter. I love this author's depiction of Nighteye. I just would love to hear what you're thinking as well. So drop those comments below for me. And as always, thank you all so much for listening.